Okay. All right, we're back streaming, so we're back in regular session of council. Again, we're going into our old business portion of the meeting. And the first item on the old business would be to amend salary ordinance 2021. But again, what I would request is a motion to suspend.
Motion to suspend.
Second, Thorne.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to suspend. Any questions or discussion on the suspension? Hearing none, roll call.
Reed,
Yes.
Thorne,
Yes.
Allen,
Yes.
Haas,
Yes.
Mullins,
Yes. Yes.
Okay, and again, this will be ordinance, and it'll be 2021-1. It's an yeah. Someone's speaking, but they broke up and I didn't hear them. All right, it'll be ordinance 2021-1. It's an ordinance amending Appendix A to ordinance 2020-28 and declaring an emergency. And again, you should have the attachment as well as the ordinance itself. And again, the only changes would be the probationary periods established for the police chief position, as well as the sergeant's position, the 6 months, and then also to the establishment of the 6-month probationary rate for the police chief. And again, I would entertain a motion.
Motion to pass ordinance 2021-1.
Second, Thorne.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to pass ordinance 2021. Any discussion or questions on the ordinance? Hearing none, roll call.
Thorne,
Yes.
Allen,
Yes.
Haas,
Yes.
Mullins,
Yes.
Reed,
Yes.
Okay, thank you. The next item on the agenda, it would be my recommendation to appoint to the permanent police chief position on a 6-month probationary period, our interim police chief, Jen Barnett. And I would entertain a motion and a second for that.
Motion to approve Jen Barnett as in the chief's position, and I believe that it was retroactive of the 28th of February, 2021.
That is correct.
Second,
I'll
Thorne.
second that, Larry.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to appoint intern chief Jen Barnett to the permanent chief position for a 6-month probationary period, retroactive to 28th day of February. Any discussion or questions? Hearing none, roll call.
Allen,
Yes.
Haas,
Yes.
Mullins,
Yes.
Reed,
Yes.
Thorne,
Yes.
Okay, thank you. At this point, I'm going to allow Police Chief Jen Barnett to make her recommendation for the vacant sergeant's position. Chief Barnett, can you hear us?
Sorry, I'm having trouble hearing you. Could you repeat that again? I'm sorry.
If you want to make a recommendation relative to the sergeant's position that is vacant, if you recommendation to the sergeant vacant,
Yes, I'd like to recommend certain words. Open to sergeant position as of February 28th on, as I feel that he would best suited for this position. Officer Christian Works.
I make a motion that we hire Officer Christian Wirtz, appoint him to sergeant position effective February 28th of 2021 per recommendation of the new chief.
we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second, Thorne.
Okay. We have motion and second to appoint Christian Werntz to the sergeant's position. Again, retroactive February 28th for a 6-month probationary period. Any questions or discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Haas,
Yes.
Mullins,
Yes.
Reed,
Yes.
Thorne,
Yes.
Allen,
Yes.
Okay. Is there any other old business to be brought before us? We will have another item for the police department. It's under new business, given that is a new item on the agenda. But is there anything else under old business the council has to bring before us? If not, we're going to move into new business. The first item on the agenda is again, it's a renewal for an application for approval for Morrison Farms. I think the information was sent to you prior by email, which should show you the parcels, which are on Smithville Western Road. Again, they're within the village limits. Again, they're used for agricultural purposes, and it would be a simple motion for us to approve, authorizing me to sign the documents.
Is anyone else getting that feedback that's seems to be very delayed?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if it was my end or
No.
something else.
No.
Okay.
So if we
Mayor,
could
I
please-
just have one question.
Sure.
And it's just a semantic, well, not semantic, it's just a form thing. So in the form that Mr. Morrison provided on section B, they had marked no for the question about does any of the land lie within the municipal corporation limit or subject to pending annexation. I just wanted to point that out. But there's 2 parcels. I assume it's the 2 that are in parentheses.
Correct.
The page above
Correct.
that are within the village
Correct.
limits.
He listed all of his parcels.
Yeah.
And yet the only 2 are the 2 that are separate. Correct. And again, besides this particularly owner, we have 2 others that I'm aware of. The one would be Studer Farms up on North Summit Street. And then also 2, Ellen Keith has property on South Summit Street behind her residence that also is farmed by a farmer. And both of those have the same exemptions. But this one is up for renewal, so that's why he brought it to us. So are there any other questions? Or then I guess, do we have a motion and second?
Make a motion, we approve the mayor to sign the application for the farmland agricultural district for Rod Morrison.
Second.
Okay, we have motion and second. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Mullins,
Yes.
Reed,
Yes.
Thorne,
Yes.
Allen,
yes,
Haas,
Yes.
All right. Again, thank you for that. And the next item on our agenda is basically every year, obviously American Legal is a firm that will take all the ordinances that we passed in the prior year. And basically they codify or put them into our current ordinance book. A lot of times you remove pages for obviously sections that are outdated or obviously being removed by ordinance actions we've taken in the past year, and they put the new into the books. They basically update those. They've done that process. They've made those pages available. But again, this is an ordinance to actually adopt those codified ordinances into our ordinance book. Again, what we need is a motion to suspend and a second as well.
Motion to suspend.
Second.
Second.
Okay, we motion is second to suspend rules. Any discussion on the suspension? Hearing none, roll call.
Reed,
Yes.
Thorne,
Yes.
Allen,
yes,
Haas,
Yes.
Mullins,
Yes.
All right. Again, this is ordinance number 2021-2. It's an ordinance enacting and adopting a supplement to the Code of Ordinances for the Village of Smithville, Ohio, and declaring an emergency. And again, obviously I gave my layman's terms of what it is. Obviously, if Jason or Joe, either one wants to weigh in, they'd be welcome to as well.
I have nothing unless somebody has questions.
Okay. All right. And again, we have a motion and a second to adopt the actual ordinance.
I make a motion that we adopt the ordinance supplement to the Code of Ordinances. It's ordinance 2021-2.
Second. Thorne.
Okay, we have motion and second. Approving ordinance 2021-2. Again, ordinance enacting and adopting a supplement to the Code of Ordinances for the Village of Smithville, Ohio, and declaring an emergency. Any discussion or questions? Hearing none, roll call.
Thorne,
Yes.
Allen,
yes,
Haas,
Yes.
Mullins,
Yes.
Reed,
Yes.
All right, thank you. The next item on your agenda, you should have received in your packet is the income tax revenue report for February. Again, as you'll see, tracking through the first 2 months of the year, we're up at this point by about 18,900, which is good. So we're tracking well. But again, a lot of times, I think if we go through a full quarter, we'll probably have a better perspective as far as where we are. But at this point in the year, we're tracking well relative to our income tax revenues. The other items you should have been given as well. We should have the January, it's the January 31st Village of Smithville monthly financial report. This is one that we need to approve. Again, it shows each of the funds, our estimated revenues as well as actual. It shows the budgeted amounts and the actual expenses, and it shows then as far as where we are for the year in each of the funds. I would entertain a motion and a second to approve the January financial report.
Motion to approve January's of 2021 monthly financial report.
Second.
Okay, any questions or discussions? Hearing none, roll call.
Allen,
yes,
Haas,
Yes.
Mullins,
Yes.
Reed,
Yes.
Thorne,
Yes.
The other items you should have received also is statement of cash position. Again, that's as of February 28th. Again, this shows each of the funds as well as a month-to-date and year-to-date receipts, disbursements, and then it shows outstanding encumbrances with ending balances for each of those funds. Are there any questions on the cash balance report? The other things that you would have received as well, you should have received the detailed revenue report that breaks down the revenue relative to each line item. And that was through February 28th. And you should have received also the detailed expense report as of February 28th of 21 as well. Both those reports show each of the line items and shows the revenues, or in the expense report, shows the actual expenses. Are there any questions on those two reports? If not, then we're going to move on to the next item would be, again, Trish had forwarded to you the document that she's been working on in relationships. Yes?
May I interrupt? Excuse me. The February financial report needs approved as well.
Okay,
Becky sent that out later on.
she did. Okay.
Motion to approve the February 2021 financial report.
Second.
Okay, we have motion and second, approve the February financial report. Any questions or discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Haas,
Yes.
Mullins,
Yes.
Reed,
Yes.
Thorne,
Yes.
Yes.
Allen,
Okay, thank you, Pam. Now we'll move into the, like I say, the report that, again, that Trish has worked on. This was a result of, obviously, our insurance company, PEP, indicated that they wanted us to have an infectious disease policy, so we know how to react if we have another pandemic at some point in the future. Again, a lot of work went into it, and I think she forwarded it to you. I guess at this point, I'll let Trish share a little bit. Again, I know that we've had a number of individuals review it already. And again, I guess I suggested that, you know, it's not something we have to do immediately. So if tonight, if you have questions you might want to ask or suggestions, that would be appropriate for us to discuss those. And maybe what we do is then put on the agenda at the next meeting for consideration to approve.
Yeah, I think that would be a good idea, especially, you know, to give them more time to go over the pages. I know I did get at least one email reply with some questions. A lot of it, I would love for you all to read all of it, is all I can say. I mean, a lot of it is just formalities, but there are things that we had to go through and actually make sure that if it says we're going to post a certain sign, then I had to make a sign. So the things that are in there, hopefully, should actually be attainable at any time if we would happen to go into that emergency situation again. We are in compliance. There are many things that the mayor gets in the mail, emails from different groups that give us alerts and updates. And this is basically just for insurance purposes. But again, if you guys want to hold off on approving this and look through it more, that's fine with me, or we can move ahead. So whatever, if you guys all got a chance to see it, then I would be fine with approving it and getting this over with.
And again, I guess I would say the one question that was posed, which was a very good question, because basically the document talks specifically about the CDC and federal guidelines that obviously we would follow and obviously monitor those. And the question was about local or state. Again, I think that in the state, specifically in local, the mayor is going to, by position, have a lot of information that automatically comes to them. I think that the CDC is something that, a lot of times comes through the state, what they're recommending, but it probably, it begs to be put in there specifically because it doesn't automatically come to this position. From the state, I get updates from Ohio Municipal League. I get updates from the governor's office, and also from the Mayor's Association. So all three during this period of time have sent me updates. Some of it is duplication, but all of them communicate relative to what the state is doing, specifics relative to state level. And then at the local level, the mayor's position is part of the advisory council to the Wayne County Health Department. And again, too, we just had a meeting on Monday. It was via Zoom, but that's a meeting that obviously this position has an appointment to. And again, at those meetings, they review obviously what the health department's doing in general in all areas in the county, but obviously specifically this year to do with the pandemic, looking back. The other thing that department does is does send updates regularly relative to numbers at the county level, specifically in relationships to the pandemic. So there's multitude ways that the state and also the local health department communicates a lot concerning any kind of health issue if there's a pandemic. So. Are there other questions? Yeah, go ahead.
One of the questions I had was on the at the end of the document. There's a form to be provided to village employees for each day of prior to reporting to work. Just about questionnaires about, do you have symptoms of COVID or whatever the pandemic virus is at the time. And one of the questions was question 4, have you traveled anywhere outside of this area in the last 14 days? Is there a definition of area, like county, or, because I know, they're doing counties, red and orange and all of that during COVID in the past year. And I didn't know if it needed to be more specific since it's affecting the reporting of village employees to work.
I think that's another good question. And I would be open to us obviously defining what the area is. I know a lot has used the state relative to going outside of the state in relationship to going to other states. I don't know. I think to me that almost makes as much sense versus, county.
I would rather do state personally too.
Okay. All right. I think there's more value in it.
If I can say, if you look up at the top of that form should be completed prior to allowing site access for the first time effective for all employees and visitors. So if you put the date there that they're wanting to come in, then it's asking if you've been 14 days from that date is how I understood it. Does that seem correct to you? If you read that sentence?
Correct.
So like if they're signing it today to come into the building, then it's asking them, have they traveled within the last 14 days from that day? That's kind of how I understood it.
Right.
So I feel like that's just a matter of what day they come in. That date would fluctuate according to when they're coming into the building or wherever they're accessing. I think that maybe we should be a little more specific on area. I mean, like you said, I don't think I didn't catch that, but I did read through it and I thought it kind of applied okay. But if we want more specifics on the area, we can change that. That's not a problem. We just need to kind of come up with what we want the area to be.
Is this, are these decisions entirely the villages as far as how this reads, or is somebody within PEP providing verbiage as well? Is this a template from PEP that we work from?
PEP actually sent me like a 500-page template, and we went through it and eliminated the things that did not apply to a small village. And so these are all things that if you look at the top of the form, it does have the PEP symbol on it. Those are all things that they provided to me. And then I just went through and tweaked it and sent it to Jason to make sure everything was legal. So Yeah, I definitely didn't come up with these myself, but I did do a lot of adjustment on this humongous packet that they had.
Yeah.
And the index may not be correct. I think sometimes I just send things to the village computer to fix the index because that's the one that prints everything out for everybody, to make sure that her program matches up with how this is done. So regardless of approval, the index may have to be changed according with the village computer. But yeah, I mean, any kind of changes, these, and the insurance guy I did tell him when this was finished that I would send it to him as well. And if he had any suggestions, but he didn't really have anything as long as we omitted what did not apply to us. So
Yeah.
I don't know if that helps with your question, but
Again, there was a lot that really was not workable and really did not apply. So there was a lot that had to be taken out.
Sure.
And we tried to make it something that would actually be applicable and be something that, you know, obviously the staff could implement as well. A lot of
Right.
it we were already doing, even though we didn't have obviously a policy in place. You know, obviously we set up procedures. But this way the procedures are put in writing. So
Yeah. Okay.
so you're
Thanks.
saying, so what are we saying outside the area? Are we just wanting to come into an agreement of what area? Did you suggest the state, Matt? Is that what you said? Is that what you
I said at least the county mayor suggested state, and I agreed with mayor on that point. I think it comes down to something like this. You know, obviously it's for the public safety and the village employee safety is what this is focused on, right? It's not so much about how we manage things like, say, the restrooms in the park. It's more about the village hall where village employees are during their work hours. And it's, you know, for their safety during, you know, another pandemic. And also there's, you know, appeasing PEP because they're insuring us in a sense, and to be honest.
Yeah.
And there's the legal side of it. And then, but there's the part that, as the mayor said, it needs to be applicable to our village so that we can continue to operate with our employees and not allow it to be too restrictive. So
Yeah,
those
and
are all the things that need to be taken into account, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, and if you look on page 7, it does have a statement in there where it says that local officials can elect to implement additional things. So if we want to agree more with the CDC and something, you know, keep going higher up the ranks, we can change that, and we can obviously, instead of just agreeing as a local or a state by the governor, we can actually, you know, it says that we have the right to follow any CDC guidelines that are given to us. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I think we can come up with an area, but if it's an increased severity on page 7, if you look, it kind of tells you that, you know, if it says right now that our area is the state of Ohio, it is subject to change on basis of severity. So I think we would be okay to say that and still be able to maintain the rules if it goes beyond state legislature on decisions.
Sure.
I would agree with the idea of listing it as state, at least to start off with. Just in day-to-day life, it would seem to me that travel outside the county is going to be much more frequent in any person's day-to-day. So I think limiting it to state might be at least the best starting point.
And that's no problem. I can change that. So is there anything else? Does anybody have any other questions? I do my
I was
best to
just gonna-
answer. I'm kind of buried in this, but go ahead.
I was just gonna comment, that's what I've seen in private industry was they limited state travel.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't even really catch the area thing. So thank you, Matt, for that. I basically just made sure that the form applied, but I would be fine with changing that. And if you guys want to approve this, we can approve it with the changes as written, and then I can make sure that that's done. Or do we have to wait, Mayor? I mean, I don't know. Do you guys want more time to look at it?
I think it's up to council. If they want to approve it with just changes, you know, notated, that's fine. or if they want more time. I just don't want them, if they wanted more time, to feel as though we had to pass it.
Right. It's up to you guys. I'm good either way. I'll make that change.
Personally, I'm comfortable acting upon it tonight with that notation, but I am open to suggestions too.
Does anyone want additional time? Maybe that's the easier question to ask. And if I don't hear anyone that wants additional time, then I would entertain a motion in a second to approve the infectious disease policy with the notated change.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. We have a motion and a second to approve the infectious disease policy as presented with the noted change. Any discussion or questions? Hearing none, roll call.
Well,
Yeah.
Mayor, does anybody, I don't know if all of you have it in front of you, but do any of you want me to send it to you with the noted change, or are you okay with your copy and you can write that in? Or if anybody wants me to send it to you, let me know, but I'm going to go ahead and change it and then have Becky do up the index on that.
Roll call.
Mullins,
Yes.
Reed,
Yes.
Thorne,
Yes.
Allen,
Yes.
Haas,
Yes.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Trish. I know it was a long time, but we're done. We can move on to the next policy we
Right?
need to work on. So,
Yeah, I got that.
moving on in the agenda, on the next item we have is, again, we have a recommendation relative to obviously the vacant full-time officer position. And again, to Chief Barnett as a recommendation to us to appoint an officer. And I was looking, is she still with us?
I think she left. She was trying to get on with her phone and
Okay.
she ended up just blacking out. So I
No.
can make a motion if you'd like.
And again, I believe each of you received a letter from her
Yeah.
with information concerning that. He is an officer that obviously we hired recently. Obviously, it's her recommendation that we bring him on full-time. And obviously, it is his wishes to become part of the department full-time. So again, I would recommend that we obviously hire that individual to full-time status. And it would be my recommendation, she didn't put in the letter, but currently he would be under a 1-year probationary period. I would recommend that we not restart it, but we start the probationary period from the original hire date. Obviously, because it was only, if I recall correctly, was the 8th of February, and this is 28th. So I think it would be fair to him just to have his year start from the 8th through obviously next year. So again, I would entertain a motion and a second for that recommendation.
Oh, I make a motion then to approve Officer Justin Jacobs into a full-time police position effective February 8th of 2021 for a 1-year probationary period.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to appoint Justin Jacobs to the full-time officer position. Any discussion or questions? Hearing none, roll call.
Reed,
Yes.
Thorne,
Yes.
Allen,
Yes.
Haas,
Yes.
Mullins,
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I think that takes us the items that were under the new business. Are there any other items from council for new business this evening? Hearing none, we'll move on to liaison reports. In equipment, Scott?
Yeah, mine's basically a question. I know Mike had sent over an email, he said, to you and also to Pam regarding the possible purchase of a new Bobcat skid steer. I was just curious, this is my first large purchase since I've been on this council in the equipment liaison. Just want to know if I had any responsibilities or anything that I needed to do, or is that something between you, Mike, and Pam, basically?
Well, again, it was something that was on the capital plan for this year. So given that, obviously, and it doesn't require additional approval, and Mike, as I recall, did check and had more than one quote for the purchase. So I think, again, at this point in time, if I recall correctly, I think that, we can move forward with that purchase. So again, I think that, and I know that he had sent us a subsequent updated email recently concerning that matter. So I don't know that there's anything else that you need to do at this point in time. So, and Pam could add to that if she'd like.
No, I have nothing else to add.
Okay. So again, I think
Thank
we're all
you.
set. That was one of the benefits of a capital plan. Obviously, when we pass that, those items that are within it, as long as they come in under the amount that we've obviously, put into the capital plan, then we're good to go. And they're part of the appropriations for that current year. So, any
Very
other?
good. Thank you. Sorry, that was all I had. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Fire, Larry.
I guess everybody's seen the pictures of the big house fire up on Honeytown, and I really don't have any other information tonight. Thank you.
Okay. There's nothing else for police that I would have this evening. That brings us then down to Veterans Memorial and Joseph.
Nothing new for Veterans Memorial.
Okay. Moving on to Parks and Trees for Matt.
Parks Board meeting is next Tuesday, March 9th, 7 o'clock at the hall. Just a reminder.
And I put it on my calendar, so I'll be here to let you know.
All right.
So moving on then to streets and sidewalks, John is not here, but John and myself did meet with an engineering firm as it relates to obviously the engineering for Fairlawn Street sidewalks. Again, that's something we put into the budget, the capital plan to do the engineering this year. As you recall, we had met with 3 different firms. We called back one firm to have further discussions. They're in the process after walking the site and also having further discussions with John and myself. They are in the process of preparing an actual document that would bid the actual cost or give us actual cost for the engineering. Once we had decided what firm we wanted to have a concrete bid or quote for the actual engineering costs. Once we receive that, then I think we'll meet and we'll probably, like I say, be ready to move forward with the recommendation concerning that. And he may share more at the next meeting. We'll probably have more to share.
Tom,
So,
which firm was it?
it was GPD. So we did meet with them. It would have been a week ago. And they did a walkthrough with Adam and with John. And they spent some time in the office for clarification. They wanted to have an understanding of what we traditionally are expecting as far as preparation, bid preparation, opening, obviously review of the bids, and then also oversight in the project. So we had discussions concerning some of those things. One of the questions that they did ask that maybe me and you need to talk about is that they ask in relationship to the documents when we begin to go down the process of sending out notices of assessment. And as far as the documents that would be the spreadsheets showing, the total cost of the project, the portions of costs that we're including that would be shared costs with residents, and then the cost the village picks up totally, and then showing the 40-60 split, and then also figuring out the cost per lineal foot to actually come up with the assessment amount. They asked if they would be requested to prepare that document.
Oh, absolutely. I think so. Absolutely.
Okay. Well, Becky felt that, but I just wanted to touch base with you. So then we will indicate that to them as well. Again, what we had conversation, that was one thing I did not answer them. So again, that's something they need to know relative to a quote. So that is who it is that we intend to, like I say, as long as obviously that, the numbers that, that we once we see those numbers, as long as they fit within what we feel that is reasonable for the project. So any other questions? If not, then we'll move on. Finance and personnel. Trish, is there anything else we need to bring up?
No, I think I'm good to go. Thanks.
Okay. Then if we're done with liaison reports, I won't belabor tonight, but just a couple updates. The property on North Summit Street, the one that we had property maintenance issues. We did obviously have a new inspection report by John Parker. The police department put their report together. We did serve the property owner. This time what we did was, given the fact the last time they did not sign for the mailed or certified mailed documents the last time, we did have one of the officers hand deliver that to the individual. Obviously that was done on a Saturday. By Monday morning, we did receive phone call back from the property owner to the chief, indicating that yes, the conditions were unacceptable and they would be rectified. He did indicate that obviously they're on a 30-day clock in which to make the changes. Again, we have talked internally in the fact that there's a number of issues, not just some of the issues specific to the sanitary issues as far as garbage, et cetera, but also the issue, even though it's not happening now, but the issue we've had with a number of people living in tents or various other campers on a permanent basis. Again, even though that's not currently occurring, we want that to be clear that obviously that once the spring breaks, that we will not accept that to be obviously standard practice of that property. The intent would be in 30 days is to ask John to go back out and make a reinspection to see whether that individual's met the criteria as we see it. And at that point in time, we would communicate that to that individual. And we would then at that point in time decide what action we would take. So again, I want to give that report. The other thing is, you obviously authorized me and I did sign a contract with Invoice Cloud and with SSI, which is our computer software company, to provide the online payment services and online bank account services for the utility department. They are in the process of putting together on the backside a lot of the paperwork and a lot of things computer-wise that need to happen. But they will be assigning us, and they actually already have assigned us a project manager, and that person's been in contact with us. So we look forward to that coming into place, hopefully within the next 60 days or thereabouts. So again, I want to report that we have made progress there. Any other questions for myself about anything concerning items that are open? If there aren't any, then I would move on to, we should have bills. And I think you have two lists that were presented to you. And if you'd have the opportunity to look at those, I would entertain a motion to approve the bill list.
Motion to approve the bills in the amount of $65,860.80.
Second.
Okay, we have motion and a second, pay bills. Any questions or discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Thorne,
Yes.
Allen,
Yes.
Haas,
Yes?
Mullins,
Yes.
Reed,
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Again, there's just notes relative to upcoming meetings. BPA will be meeting on March 8th, again at 6 p.m. at Village Hall. Any of you are always welcome. Again, they continue to work on a number of major projects. So, and then also our next council meeting will be March 16th at 7 p.m. If there's no further business, then I would also entertain a motion to adjourn in a second.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second, Thorne.
Thorne.
Okay, we have motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed, same sign. All right, I appreciate everyone's involvement. I appreciate your actions that you took tonight.
Okay,
Thank
thanks,
you.
everybody.